Hi everyone, this is Maverick Paul, the chemistry guru. Now in this video, we want to discuss the suggested solution for 2021 A-Levels H2 Chemistry, Paper 1, Question 20. Now question 20, DOTP is used as a plasticizer to increase the fluidity of plastics such as PVC. So the structure for this DOTP is given here, which reaction will produce this compound under suitable conditions. And we will run through the options A, B, C, D later, but let's take a look at the functional group present in DOTP. Now, if you look at this, the functional group present is actually our ester functional group. Now, I have an ester functional group here, and I've also an ester functional group here. What we would need to do is we will need to consider what is the acid and alcohol that will form this diester under suitable conditions. The topic tested in this question is pretty simple. It's under carboxylic acids and acid derivatives. Now, what we need to do is we need to reverse the process. Since I get an ester as the product, what is the reactant that will undergo condensation reaction to form this ester? Basically, we just work backwards. What we do first is we consider the breaking of the ester bond. So I break this ester bond here, I break this ester bond here. Then I'll consider what are the reactants that will form this ester. Now, of course, we know that esterification is formed from an acid and alcohol to give me ester plus water. This is my condensation reaction, and therefore this structure on the left-hand side will be involving my alcohol. Because it contains one oxygen, we know that this will be an alcohol. And in order for me to compare this alcohol and the other alcohol that is formed, and also, I also need to be able to compare with all these different alcohols that we have in options A, B, C, D. I think the best way for us to identify this alcohol is to number the alcohol as if we are trying to name this organic compound. Of course, there's no need for us to really name it, but what we do is we find the functional group, try to number the carbon chain, so that at least when I do comparison with these two alcohols, see whether they are identical or not. And if I want to compare with my options A, B, C, D, it is a lot easier if I know what is the carbon chain, where is the functional group, and what is the position of my substituents, and so on. So let us try to do that here. Now we know that this alcohol, if I were to put the hydrogen here, so this will be my alcohol, and alcohol will be my functional group. If I number the carbon, this carbon will be position 1, then this will be carbon number 2, number 3, number 4, carbon 5, carbon 6. This will be the longest carbon chain. And this means that longest carbon chain will be 6 carbon. I have an OH group on carbon position 1. You also notice we have an ethyl group, 2 carbon group on carbon position 2, ethyl group on carbon 2. We can write this down, or you can just take note of it. I know that there's an ethyl group on carbon position 2. My alcohol will be 6 carbon long. Position 1 is an alcohol, position 2 is my ethyl group. Now, how about the other alcohol? The other alcohol, we will also try to name it in the same way, because it is possible for me to get 2 different alcohols, right? So let us consider I put the hydrogen here, then again I number the carbon chain. Longest carbon chain will be this guy, carbon 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. And I also have an ethyl group on carbon position 2. This is also my 2 ethyl. So what does it mean? This means that the 2 alcohols are identical, because both of them are 6 carbon long. Both of them, the OH group is on carbon position 1, and both of them, I have a 2 ethyl group. So let me draw out the alcohol. So the alcohol basically is this. I just follow the structure for this guy. So it will be something like this. I have an OH group, and I have an ethyl group at carbon position 2. Again, the best way for me to do comparison is to number my carbon so that I do not accidentally draw the wrong compound, or I draw one more carbon, I draw one less carbon. So I have carbon number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. And same thing, I have an ethyl group on carbon position 2. So this will be the alcohol that will form this product. Now, how about the acid portion? Now, acid portion, obviously, this guy is going to be an acid group, which is essentially my benzoic acid. And I also have another acid group, which is attached to this carbon here. So basically what I'll have is I'll end up with a diacid. So the diacid should look something like this. I have 2 benzoic acid. So this will be an acid group. And I'll also have another acid group here. Now, by right involving esterification for benzoic acid, because benzoic acid, the acid carbon is not very reactive for condensation reaction. By right, we will prefer to use acid chloride. In general, if let's say I have a condensation reaction between benzoic acid and alcohol to form ester, usually what we will do is we will convert the benzoic acid to acid chloride, then acid chloride with alcohol to form ester. That reaction will be faster because benzoic acid for condensation reaction is not very reactive. So what we will do is we will keep a lookout involving the options. If there's an acid chloride, then we will choose the acid chloride. If there's no acid chloride, then of course we will just choose whatever that is available. So what we will do is we will keep a lookout for either your benzoic acid or your benzoyl chloride. Now, at least what we have done is we've determined, okay, what is the alcohol structure and what is the acid structure, and when they undergo condensation reaction, it's going to give me this product. So now we are able to run through the options A, B, C, D, and see which is the best answer. And let us take a look here. Now remember what we have is I have this alcohol, 6 carbon, OH group on position 1, ethyl group on position 2, and what we want is we either want a dibenzoic acid or a dibenzoyl chloride. So either acid group or acid chloride. If the options give me 2 of them, then we'll choose the acid chloride because acid chloride is more reactive. Of course, we will have to choose the best answer depending on whatever that is available. So let us run through options A, B, C, D, and let us eliminate the options. Now, if you look at A, actually A is definitely wrong, correct? Because if you consider the functional groups in A, this guy is an acid, the other guy is an acid chloride. So acid plus acid chloride is not going to give me an ester in the first place. So A is definitely wrong, so we'll just ignore this. This is totally not the answer. Now, how about B? Now B, what I have is I have an acid chloride or acid group, and I have an alcohol. Now it is going to form an ester, but it is not the ester that we want. And if you look at the components that we have already figured out, the straight chain guy should be the alcohol, the benzene portion should be the acid. This one is the opposite. The acid portion is at the aliphatic carbon chain, and the alcohol portion is actually at the benzene. So B is not the answer, because if I compare these two guys with the 2 fragments that we have already determined, actually they are not the same. So B is also definitely wrong. Now how about C? C, you notice what we have is I have an alcohol, aliphatic alcohol, straight chain 6 carbon, ethyl group on carbon position 2, and my OH group is on carbon position 1. So this is perfect, exactly the same as what we have deduced. And involving my acid, you notice I have a dibenzoic acid. And again, this fits perfectly according to what we have deduced. So C definitely is a possible answer. Now, how about D? Now D, we have an alcohol also, and we also have a dibenzoic acid. But if you look at the structure for my alcohol, actually when you compare these two, obviously the number of carbon is a little bit different. So let us go and count the number of carbon that we have for this alcohol. If you number the carbon, then it's actually very, very obvious that you have only 5 carbon, and I have ethyl group attached to carbon position 1. In fact, if let's say we want to name this organic compound, this guy should be 7 carbon long, and the OH group is on carbon position 3. But if I compare this with C, I think it is easier for us to compare in this way. We say that, okay, for option C, the alcohol is 6 carbon long, and for option D, the carbon is only 5 carbon long. Actually, the carbon chain is different, and of course, we know that D, even though it is an alcohol functional group, but it is the wrong alcohol. So D definitely is wrong. Now, based on the available options that we have, then the only possible correct answer to this question will be option C. Alright, so that is the discussion involving this exercise. And if you have learned something useful from this video, please give me the thumbs up, like this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more weekly video lessons. That's all for now. I'll see you next week.